Welcome to the Club of Hearts, where we promote self-care, provide solutions, and prioritize service. I'm the founder, Joy K. Madison, and I'm here today with Mark Ford. How you doing, Mark?
Blessed, and thankful.
I'm here with Mark, and he's going to be doing a phenomenal workshop on this idea that whatever you're doing is bigger than you. And I think we all know that, but sometimes we get caught up in the details and we forget. So I'm excited to jump into that workshop and all the things that you're going to be sharing. But before we do that, of course, you all know I want to give you an opportunity to get to know Mark. So we're going to get into our segment, Your Deepest Truth. Are you ready?
Well, choice.
No one, you do have a choice.
No. I'm ready.
Always have a choice.
Definitely ready.
First question. What is your deepest truth about who you are?
I am driven, ambitious, and focused, yet still focusing on who I can be. Like one of my favorite quotes is, every day is a good day to get better.
Okay.
So I know who I am, but I'm building on that. I can be more of who I am.
Right. Okay. I dig that.
I do this thing where I literally stare at myself in the mirror for a few minutes. Like in my own eyes, like, and I'll get real close, like awkward, like
awkward,
bro,
awkwardly close to myself.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
that's actually a profound thing. Like to be able to say, like, I get awkwardly close to myself. Not even just my reflection in the mirror, but like to myself. Like, do you know how many people don't spend time with themselves?
Yes, I do.
So yes. to have that, when you think about like the feeling of being awkwardly close to someone else, and awkwardly close meaning in proximity, but also awkwardly close where that vulnerability piece comes up, and you have that awkward moment of like silence where you're like
to myself
with yourself. Like when you have that moment with yourself, like that's like another type of thing. Okay, so second question: what is your deepest truth about the work that you do in the world?
Wow. My deepest truth is that I had to submit. It's not about where you are. What are you doing when you're there? And I was at work, I was cutting hair, and I never wanted to be a barber. Never wanted
right.
To. It was
that every time I hear you say that, it blows my mind.
It blows my mind. I never wanted to be a barber. It was just something that came to me, and it's something I was able to do. Mm-hmm. But when I looked at why I was doing it, and it was the one consistent thing that I was doing all these years, I started to realize what I was doing. It was a fellowship thing. Mm-hmm. I was actually engaging with people. Mm-hmm. And it was not about cutting their hair, making their presentation, mm-hmm. or getting the money from the transaction. Mm-hmm. It was all about the people.
I really appreciate something you said. It's not about where you are, but it's about what you're doing while you're there. When I listen to you talk about, being a barber and all the things that happen in your chair and in the shop and in barbershops across the world, particularly as a safe space for Black men, and it being so much bigger than that, which is, again, why you're doing the It's Bigger Than You workshop, because I believe that that's true for everybody. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing is so much bigger than you, and it's so much bigger than whatever you see in front of you in that moment.
All time.
So I really appreciate just even that moment of like, it doesn't matter where you are. It's your responsibility, it's your duty to find purpose in that, even if, to your point, you don't like it at the moment. It doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable. And you know that that's not the end or the last stop. In that moment, that's where you are, and there is a reason, and there's something in that for you. So if you can be present with that, if you can get awkwardly close to yourself and really spend the time to figure out what that is, like, it's such a valuable lesson to learn, and there's always something in it that you're going to need to take with you to your next level, whatever that may be.
Absolutely.
All right, so last question. This is the big one. It's the big one to me, but I guess they're all pretty big. So, Mark, what is your deepest truth about love?
I'm going to need a minute. Love is everything. It's necessary. It's your responsibility. It's everything. Yeah. Can't do nothing without it.
Talk to me about your responsibilities. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that.
It is your responsibility because it is yours to own, to love yourself, as well as you cannot love anyone else properly if you don't love yourself. And you're responsible for loving others as well. Loving them through it, loving them to it, loving them from it.
Listen, because when I'm listening to through, to, and from, that's tough.
Yeah. You see all of it, right?
That's tough. Through, got that. Maybe even from, got that. To,
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
listen.
And sometimes you gotta drop some people off.
And that's the part, I think, to something. Because the question then becomes, when you're loving someone to something, are you loving them to what you want them to be, or to what they're destined to be already, regardless of whether or not it looks like what you want it to look like, right? And I think when you, personal, right? When I'm thinking about myself, and if I'm thinking about my idea of what it means or what it looks like to love someone to something, it's going to take a lot of getting myself out of the way and figuring out whatever this thing is that I'm loving you to, how much of that is me trying to manipulate you into being someone that I think you should be, right? Because it's easy to see someone's what we call potential, and then think that if I can just love them and if I can just show them something different from whatever they may have come from, and whatever the things we tell ourselves, about this power of love, because I do believe that it is very powerful, but whatever it is we tell ourselves about that power and how we tend to choose to use it in a way that feels everything that is the opposite of love: manipulative, deceitful, controlling. And not because we're trying to be those things in a malicious way, but because, again, we think I see your potential and you could be all the things, and if I'm going to love you, I want to love you in a way that's going to help you also see that.
Understood.
And it's like, yeah, but that ain't your job. Right? And that's what I'm saying about the loving to something. Like, it's not your job to love somebody into who you think they should be. And I'm not saying that that's what you meant, but I'm saying when I hear that, I know that immediately my work, if I'm going to choose to love someone to something, my work would be to make sure that what I think I'm loving them to is not a picture that I created in my mind of what they should be. And that I'm really choosing to love them to whatever they're going to be regardless.
Understood.
Right? And that's why I'm like, that's a thing.
I guess I was looking at it from a standpoint of like more so with children.
Okay. But even that, and especially that,
children and adults,
because parents be like, oh, my kid, and then it becomes all the things. So even in that context, but I hear you, and I'm with you. But that just brings up a lot of what I know I get to do. Right, for me, when thinking of that concept.
And my thing was, it's not necessarily manipulative, but more so persuasive.
Okay.
It's an introduction to something. Like, hey, because you don't know what you don't know until you know it.
Right.
So if I say, hey, you don't even know this is a thing, hey, there's a door here.
What I'm hearing you say is love, particularly in the concept of loving someone to something, looks like exposure.
Yeah, it's just exposure. It's just a thing where you can introduce something to someone, and once again, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Right.
So the manipulation part comes in where you're forcing them to drink, when you're forcing them through this door. You know what I mean? But if it's done with love, it's gonna say, hey, there's another option here.
Right.
You can choose it.
Right. Consider what's possible and what's available.
There it is.
Okay, I can dig that. I got. I'm gonna leave it right there, and I'm gonna let y'all chew on that and figure out what it means to you. How you're interpreting all of this. I appreciate you, Mark, for sharing your deepest truths today. Don't forget, you're going to check out Mark on his workshop, It's Bigger Than You. If you're not yet subscribed to the Club of Hearts, make sure you get there. It's patreon.com/Club of Hearts. And I think that's all for now. So until next time, cheers.